Here we go.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Welcome to another episode of the Wisco Fanatic Show, where we cover the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, and Badgers basketball and football teams from an optimistic and realistic perspective.
Welcome to our second Green Bay Packers show for the 2026 season. Very excited. We have a lot of stuff coming up between, obviously, this week. Last week, we did our first show of the year. Go check that out. All that information is still relevant as we carry into the 2026 season. This week, we are doing our roster predictions and depth chart. We're going to do those simultaneously. And then we're also going to do a development pipeline, basically just looking at the Packers, what rookies, what year 2 guys, what year 3 guys are going to have roles and what contributions they could potentially make. And then we're also going to go through some most likely to be overrated, underrated, most likely to break out, and most likely to be most improved. So lots of stuff going on today. We're going to start with the rosters. Now, Jake, we've also been posting on the page winners and losers of training camp. So this is going to be kind of a few weeks of training camp. We have one preseason game. Preseason game 2 is on Friday. Sounds like the Packers are going to play their starters for a couple series, and then nobody is playing in preseason game 3. So this is probably, I feel like we're going to do pretty good as we do rosters, but anything you want to say before we start jumping into the roster prediction and what we think the depth chart's going to look like?
I'm going to say something that me and you have both been echoing in different ways, is that the first 50 seemed pretty easy. Like the first 50 was like, all right, this is these guys are pretty much locks. I mean, obviously, since losing Rodgers and Devontae over the last couple of years and becoming the youngest roster in the NFL and watching and grooming these guys, growing these guys, so a lot of these guys have grown up together. So most of them are pretty easy. You got the skill position rooms that we redid, the tight end room we redid, the offensive line we had to draft some people, sign some free agents. Quarterback was obviously a given. Running back was a free agent signing, a couple draft pick, a free agent signing, and then defensively it was just all right. These are all young draft picks that we picked over the last 3 years, basically. So yeah, it was pretty easy the first 50. The last 3, though, is just like, holy cow. That was the hardest part, and I couldn't believe it. Yeah, and then we're going to get into our other section later, like most likely to be. We're going to do an overrated, underrated, improved, likely to break out, and then talk about some development pipeline. So this is going to be a fun episode. I'm very excited. I don't know where you want to start. I'll let you kick it off, but, yeah, let's do it.
All right, so let's start on special teams. The first thing that's on everybody's mind when you think of the Green Bay Packers. Nobody cares about offense or defense. We're definitely going to talk just special teams. So,
yep.
Yeah, let's just get those 3 out of the way.
Yes.
Matt Orzech's going to be the long snapper. Trey Snack is going to be the kicker, and Danny Whelan's going to be the punter. Probably the 3 super easiest things to pick. But
yep. Easy.
All right. So now, honestly, do we want to start offense or defense?
Let's start offense because we got a new defensive coordinator.
All right, I'm with that just because I have offense on the top. Anyways.
All right, works for me.
Okay, so looking at the offensive side of the ball, quarterback, I have 2 guys. I have Jordan Love and Tyrod Taylor.
Same.
Okay. What about running back?
I have Josh Jacobs, Chris Brooks, and Marshawn Lloyd. I have 3 running backs. That's all I kept.
I also have 3 running backs. I do have Jacobs, Lloyd, and then Brooks. I think that distinction of Lloyd in the RB2 spot, call it. Lloyd and Brooks are probably going to play, in my opinion, a pretty even amount of snaps. But I do think if we're looking at who's going to be spelling Josh Jacobs on run plays and honestly in the passing game is something we've seen a lot of Marshawn Lloyd getting practice in during training camp. Yep. I do think Marshawn Lloyd is going to be the primary backup, and then Chris Brooks is going to be your passing down guy.
I wrote a star next to one player's name because there is still discussion on Josh Jacobs maybe being suspended, and I think that Pierre Strong would take that spot. If Josh Jacobs is, I'm not saying whether he is or not. We're staying out of that speculation stuff, but if he is, Strong would take Jacobs' spot on my roster. I think you would agree with that as well.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't dislike Damian Martinez. I don't think he's going to make the roster, but I do like him as a practice squad guy.
Fair.
All right. Tight end. I have 3 tight ends. I still have Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, and Josh Wiley. I put it in my positional battles to watch. Luke Musgrave is still not practicing in team.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a very realistic possibility that week one's tight end depth chart has Tucker Kraft, Josh Wiley, and then Luke Musgrave.
That's exactly how I wrote it, and that's how I think it should be. I think Josh Wiley is a better blocker. I think he's still a threat in the pass game. He's a big body guy, like we talked about Musgrave. He's actually listed as taller than Musgrave, so I really like Josh Wiley. Yeah, Josh Wiley, I think he's listed as 6'7", and Musgrave's listed as 6'6". So I like Josh Wiley. I think he's a great number 2 tight end when you put him next to Tucker Kraft, who is otherworldly to us Packers fans. He's a very good tight end. Wiley is a good second fiddle to him. So I like those three, and I like Wiley in the 2 spot. I think Musgrave, if he has a play that pops and you can look at him as a tight end 3, you're like, wow, you're getting out of your third tight end. A little bit more impressive than the expectations of tight end 2 in this offense.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's go to wide receivers. I'll let you go first. I have 6 wide receivers. All right, give me your 6.
So from left to right, I have Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, and then as backups, I have Savion Williams, Sky Moore. I wrote next to him, he's going to be a wide receiver / kick returner, punt returner, so he kind of adds in on that special teams. And then I have Bo Melton making the roster because every preseason this guy's catching 50-yard bombs for some reason.
Yep. Yeah, and I have Bo Melton and Sky Moore just flip-flopped. I have Bo Melton as wide receiver 5 just because he's going to be doing more in the offense, I think, than Sky Moore. And I could be wrong about that. We could see Sky Moore being a guy that they do more like intentional deep shots with.
Fair.
Okay. Let's go to the offensive line. I know we both said we have 10 guys on the offensive line. If we go with the starters, for me, I'm still looking at Jordan Morgan at left tackle, Aaron Banks at left guard, Sean Ryan starting at center, Zach Bako-Buele starting at right tackle. Now, right guard is another position that I was watching. I'm going to say I'm still watching both guard spots, but I do think Aaron Banks, now that he's practicing, is going to end up just getting the left guard spot. I really, really feel, based on early camp reports, I shouldn't even say early because we're 3 weeks in and now we're 2 weeks away from preseason being over. I really feel like Jagger Burton should get a spot at right guard.
Okay.
And then my other 5 offensive linemen would be Anthony Belton, Jacob Monk, Darian Kennard, John Williams, and Donovan Jennings.
Those are quite literally the same exact ones that I have. I just don't have Burton. I have Burton starting, and this is going to sound crazy. I think that they're going to start Jacob Monk at right guard.
I'm not against that either. He's got glowing camp reports also. I'm not at all against Jacob Monk starting at right guard either.
And then I have Donovan Jennings as the guy. I put 2 arrows between center and right guard. I have him kind of playing that swing spot, and Kennard can play both tackle spots. I wrote left tackle, right tackle, and John Williams can play. He can kick inside the guard as well, being the backup left tackle. So I think offensive line is pretty much set at this point.
So where do you see Jagger Burton fitting in there as like the backup center left guard?
Yeah, I think that if right guard really struggles, if Monk struggles and they don't like Belton there, I think that they could put Burton in at center and just flip Sean Ryan over at right guard.
Yep, that makes sense to me too. I like that they have options in this and that guys are performing well, that they don't have to be forced into starting Belton at right guard. It's going to come up in more segments today, I promise you. Spoiler alert. But all right, I'm glad we're completely on the same page on offense. Let's see what happens on defense. So basically the way we're looking at it is the Packers are taking 21 offensive players into week 1. Now, defense, we talked last week about Jonathan Gannon's scheme, what that's going to look like. So let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball. And Jake, let's start at defensive line. Who are you looking at to make the roster on the D-line? I
was worried if you were going to do edge and then D tackle. I didn't know how you were going to phrase it.
I do have D-line and edge separate.
Okay. I just put D-line together. I did separate my edge, so we could do that next. But in terms of like players that are going to play inside primarily, I have Wyatt, Hargrave. Those are going to be the starters. I have McClellan, and Brooks has looked really good in camp from everything I've read. So he's an A1 bench player.
Yep.
McClellan, he's obviously a rookie, but big body guy. I have Nazir Stackhouse, and I have Ford, just because he's humongous and playing in Gannon's system, you're going to need big body guys that free up the linebackers. So those are the 6 defensive tackle that I have.
So I don't have Ford, and I'm not opposed to him making the roster. I just don't have him on because I feel like he's a guy that the Packers could stash and then like elevate on game day.
Okay.
I do have Warren Brinson on the roster. So I think it's take your pick in that spot, but I do have Wyatt, Hargrave, Brooks, Stackhouse, McClellan, and then Brinson. So
that's the only difference, huh?
Yeah, that's the only difference. All right, let's jump over to Edge. Now, Edge is interesting because obviously we're going to get Micah Parsons back. Call it week 6, call it week 8, like whatever you want to say. Just somewhere in the middle of the season, we're going to get Micah Parsons back. But I'm interested to see who starts opposite Lucas Van Ness, who is having a great camp in every facet. Like he's doing literally everything on the defensive side of the ball. He's playing well against the run, against the screen, against the pass. Like he's doing everything. Lucas Van Ness is going to start even when Micah Parsons is back. From there, looking at the number 2 edge, I feel like I'm leaning towards it being Brenton Cox.
I can see that.
I think guys like Colin Oliver and maybe Barron Sorrell have opportunities. Danny Dennis Sutton is obviously the rookie, and then I also have Aaron Bosby making the roster just because I think he's a good special teamer and a rotational edge guy. So I have 6 edge players for the Packers.
Yeah, I have Cox Jr., DDS, Oliver, Sorrell, LVN, and then I have a star next to Parsons because he will be on the roster. He just won't be on the week 1 roster.
Okay.
I have 6 as well, but
we're right there. Linebackers.
Okay, come here. You go ahead with linebackers.
Okay. I have 4, just essentially 4 traditional linebackers. Looking at it, the Packers with them going back to a 4-3 this year. That's kind of why Jake's asking the question of you separating out D-line and edge. The Packers are going to have I have 4 linebackers. Zaire Franklin, Edgerrin Cooper, Isaiah McDuffie, and Tyron Hopper.
Those are the 4 you have, huh? I have did you say Neiman? You have Neiman making it?
To full disclosure, I do have Neiman making it, but he is in my last 3.
Oh.
I didn't put him in my linebackers. He is my 51st man.
Yeah, I have Cooper, Franklin, McDuffie, Neiman, and Hopper. Those are the ones that I have.
Okay. All right. Cornerback.
My corners. All right, so I do have a surprise on here. So I have Cisse, Valentine, Nixon, St. Juice. Those are the top 4. Those are really the 4 that are going to be rotating this year, in my opinion.
Yep.
And then I have Domani Jackson making the roster.
Yep.
Out of Alabama, 6th-round pick, but, prestigious college. Played some big-time ball in the SEC. The Packers like their SEC guys, so I think that's why he may have a leg up.
So I have those 5, and I actually have Jalen Simpson making the roster as well.
Really? Nice.
Really. And kind of an interesting thing, I actually am going to have another guy that I'm going to talk about, but him and Jalen Simpson are both guys that are doing very well in camp, and I think if the Packers are going to be looking at potentially rotating in corners and just DBs in general, I think Jalen Simpson's a guy that is having a good enough camp that he'll be able to make the roster, if not be just like a fringe practice squad guy who is like a game day call-up if somebody else is going to be banged up, like if Domani Jackson's going to be banged up, like he just started practicing with the team today. So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Safeties, I got 4. Just keep it simple. Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, Javon Bullard, and Kaitan Oladipo. Just 4 safeties.
Yep.
Okay.
I have a hot take before we go on.
Okay.
I've been to 2 practices now this year. I went on Sunday with my dad and my daughter, and I was watching some stuff. And there's a lot of talk about like a hybrid safety role, and there's a lot of talk about Bullard kind of playing that role. I think a lot of people could play that role. He's a bigger guy, and I think that he stands a better chance against tight ends because of his length. And that's in a pinch if you're in a situation where, you have to push Bullard back down to cornerback to that nickelback area. I would feel okay with a lot of people playing that kind of robber role. I think he has the size and the speed, the athleticism to fill that position. That might be a little bit of a hot take, but I like him in that role.
So I don't think you're wrong, and it's interesting to think about because I've said, and I know I've put it in my winners and losers notes, that I do think Oladipo is going to have a true role on the defense this year as the fourth safety. A guy like Zane Anderson isn't on the team anymore, so I think Kaitan Oladipo is going to be able to step into that role, being a core special teamer and a rotational safety. I hadn't given exactly what that role would look like a super deep thought, so I like that idea.
Yeah. Every once in a while I have those,
I like what just happened in the Brewer game, too.
Yeah, that was fun.
All right. So, last three guys on the roster, that is where I have Nick Needman. I also have Kamal Haddon. So, Kamal Haddon has been playing well in camp. And then today, the Packers also tried him at safety a little bit with the second team.
Wow.
So, Kamal Haddon not only is playing well in his role, but playing well enough to earn potentially more responsibility as another hybrid DB. Kind of like what I like out of Jalen Simpson, just kind of being a defensive back. I'm very interested in that. I could see one or the other making it, but I really like both, and I honestly kind of want to see the Packers protect both of those guys. And then my last man on the roster, I do have a seventh wide receiver. There's so many good things being said about Isaiah Nayer. I think he's going to make it as one of the last guys on the roster, and another guy that if he didn't make the team is going to get claimed by somebody.
I can see that.
All right, you got
to been pumping out wide receivers lately, dude. Pumping out wide receivers.
Yeah. Okay. Moving into development pipeline, and the way that we're looking at this is just essentially trying to figure out the NFL doesn't have a minor league system. I kind of wish that they would take the UFL and make it their minor league because I think that would attract more viewership. If you're like, hey, this guy's a future Packer, I think that would be a really good thing. I do think it gets a little bit kind of murky when you're looking at the UFL taking place in the spring and the NFL taking place in the fall. I think you could make that work because you kind of you can let guys develop and then you can say, hey, you're going to be potentially available, and you can make it your entire UFL team becomes your practice squad, or half of your UFL team becomes your practice squad, and you make it a 90-man roster, and you can pick guys off your 90-man roster onto your 53, maybe something like that. But we wanted to do this development pipeline to kind of look at who is up and coming essentially prospects. So rookies, year 2 guys, and year 3 guys. Jake, let's start with rookies. Who are some rookies that you can see making contributions?
I mean, the obvious one is Brandon Cisse, right? Mm-hmm. He's God. I don't know if I want to say that. I don't know if there's a hot take. He might be the best cornerback on the roster.
I'm going to double down on it, and I'm going to say yes, he is. He has consistently been the only guy that has practiced with the starters in every single practice.
Yep. So that's interesting. I think DDS is another guy that could, especially the first couple of weeks. I mean, I'm not going to say the first week he's going to
get out of my notebook.
Yeah, I'm not going to say he's going to have 3 sacks, but he's going to have an impact. He's going to force some early passes, get some pressures. And then Yager Burton is the other guy that's competing for a starter role. That's the 3 that I picked out from this draft class. I didn't want to say the whole draft class. So I do think McClellan will make some plays, but I think he's a guy that needs to develop. I think he needs a year or 2 to figure out the physicality because it's going to be different than the SEC. I know everybody wants to talk about SEC, Big Ten, and college, and they're the best and all that stuff. This is still a big step up. So I think he needs a year with the physicality aspect.
So I did put in my notes. I'm Brandon Cisse is the obvious one. I do think he's going to start. I think he's pretty much locked in to a week 1 starting cornerback spot to the point, like, I wonder how much he's even going to play in the 3rd preseason game.
I don't think he'll play at all. I think his spot got locked in after he made that tackle on the goal line that everybody's showing everywhere. And LaFleur was talking about we need corners that can tackle.
Yep.
I think it was stamped right there.
And honestly, when listening to Cisse talk about being drafted, I'm going to give an early shout out to Gannon for making that pick, because Brandon Cisse made it sound like Gannon was the reason he was picked. Not to say that Goody and Matt LaFleur wouldn't have picked him anyways, but it sounds like Gannon had a pretty strong influence in Brandon Cisse being the pick, and a pick that we loved. So very excited to see him on the field in a real game. I do have DDS written as well. He's a guy that we ended up picking in the 4th round that I think we would have been okay with if he had been their 2nd round pick. And then we were like, bro, run up to the board in the 3rd round. Run up to the board and pick Danny Dennis Sutton. And then he still got to the Packers in the 4th round. I think he's going to have some regular playing time weeks 1 through 6 with a chance to keep some of that playing time when Micah Parsons returns. He's essentially going to get like a 6-week audition to be like, hey, are you going to be our number 2, our number 3, our number 4 pass rusher? And then when Micah comes back, are you going to be number 3, number 4, or number 5?
Yep. Agreed.
I did put Chris McClellan on there just as like a rotational defensive tackle. And again, Jager Burton, like you just said, nothing but good things coming out about him during camp. So I really like the Jager Burton pick as well. Going into year 2, the super duper low hanging fruit is Matthew Golden. Basically, the reports are that he's just going to get the role that Romeo Doubs had.
Yep.
They're not making even any changes with it. So, welcome back, Justin. The 2 sneaky answers, I think, for year 2 leaps are Baron Sorrell and Savion Williams.
Oh,
I think he's being kind of like, oh, okay, the Packers are going to have a true trio of wide receivers. And people are thinking that it's just a drop-off after that. And there was a day last week, 2 days last week, where Matthew Golden and Jaden Reed were out of practice, and Savion Williams was catching everything.
Yeah.
I think he was like 7 out of 8 receptions on targets. So I think Savion Williams has a chance to make kind of a year 2 leap as the 4th wide receiver, as the first sub off the bench. And then also we saw the super brief flash last season that was Colin Oliver. Those are the guys that I'm looking at for year 2 guys.
Yeah, I have Matthew Golden as well. If we were betting men, Matthew Golden to the moon. I think that he has some unreal potential. Lots to talk about. And he was good on this down last year, but lots to talk about him being good on 3rd down during training camp, which I love. That's
something we need from a guy stepping into Romeo Doubs' role, because I think that was one of the one of the most trusted guys on 3rd down.
I think he's going to turn into one of those guys that is just a money down kind of guy. So I'm very excited with Matthew Golden coming into this season. And, Jordan Love talked about it. I don't want to go on a huge tangent, but he talked about, with the wide receiver depth kind of going down, it made him, have better timing with Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Matthew Golden. So the timing aspect of things is going to be a little ahead of schedule compared to the last couple of years, where he's had to work with 6 guys. Now he only has to really focus on 3 or 4 guys. So that makes things a little bit better as well. I didn't put one next to Savion Williams, but I love your explanation of it. The 2 guys that I did as second-year players, developmental pipeline, is Baron Sorrell. Heard nothing but this guy put on 50,000 pounds of muscle coming into camp. He looks huge, by the way.
He's fast as shit.
He's super fast. He ran over 20 miles per hour on an interception a couple weeks ago. I'm telling you, this man up close is humongous. He's huge. And then I really like Colin Oliver. That week 18 game last year, I was like, oh. Now he's another guy like DDS where it's like, okay, we really didn't get a lot from him last year, so he's basically a rookie. But that first 6 weeks is going to be like, okay, we're letting you off the chain. You're a crazy dog. We're letting you off the chain. Let's see how much you can get. So Colin Oliver, I think, could go nuts.
And reports of Colin Oliver is that he's a little bit undersized for like essentially an edge rusher, but that tackles can't get their hands on him.
Yeah.
To be that fast and twitchy, is very, very interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing him on the field more.
I'm going to respond to Justin real quick. He said, if
Yeah.
Golden can get separation like Adams did, he's going to be nasty. Nobody releases like Devontae Adams. That guy, if you were doing a tier list and there was a God tier list, he's the only one.
Yeah.
He has the best. He's the best ever. I'm not saying that because he was a Packer.
No.
He continued that on those shitty Raiders.
Yeah.
He continued that on the shitty Jets. He was still getting separation. They were just horrible. And now he's doing it on the Rams, obviously a loaded roster. But, dude, he's a God tier list on release.
Puka Nacua probably could have led the league in receptions, or he did lead the league in the receptions, but he could have led the league in receiving yards also. But he missed the game. Devontae Adams still had 14 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
That's a wide receiver too. That's stupid.
Yeah, dude. Their roster is sick.
Super
sick, dude.
They don't have any first-round picks for the next decade, but hey, like their team's fun, and they have a guy just sitting at home as a former, essentially GOAT. But
Jesus, that would be
just like, hey,
that would break the internet. If Aaron Donald comes back, that would break the internet.
I think it's a matter of time, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think he's gonna wait till he doesn't want to play in that Australia game. That's what I think it is. That's my opinion. I think once they come back, he signs.
I could see that.
Dude, he's 2 years retired. He doesn't want to travel all the way over to Australia.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I guess a guy like that, I'm sure he has a passport. But
yeah, dude, he doesn't have to though. They can go over there, take care of business first. The 49ers come back home, and they just gain Aaron Donald. Like, what?
But I think him seeing a division rival win a Super Bowl pretty convincingly after beating another division team in the NFC Championship.
Yeah. And then they brought over the Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah.
I think the Myles Garrett trade, and then I think Aaron Donald's going to be like, yeah, rings are fun.
Unreal. That's going to be a crazy
I don't have to
game.
try as hard as I used to.
Yeah. We play them on November 25th. It's going to be a fun day.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
All right. Year 3 leaps. This one is a little bit of a longer list. I actually have 6 guys that I'm looking at to make an impact on year 3 players. Kaitan Oladipo being a special teams helper and a rotational guy.
Okay.
Evan Williams, I have as written down as a borderline Pro Bowler, ?
Okay.
I have Marshawn Lloyd with the obvious caveat, if he's healthy.
Yep.
Javon Bullard.
Yep.
We're going to talk more about Javon Bullard in a second. Edgerrin Cooper, does he become a top 10 linebacker this year?
Well, I have thoughts on him.
And then Jordan Morgan, who is going to start at left tackle. There are 6 guys in year 3 with the Packers that I think we look back at a 2024 draft where people were kind of like, oh, why didn't you get Cooper DeJean? And then we're going to look at it and be like, damn, that roster was loaded with guys that are helping the team.
Yep.
All right, what are you looking at from year 3?
I wrote it down in my notebook as I was writing down these previous drafts, and I was like, dude, the 2024 draft was freaking gangster. Set up our team so well, which we are going to be doing a section in the future talking about Gutekunst's report card. So that's going to be a good episode. That's the same episode as our week 1 primer, I believe.
Yep.
So look forward to that. I also have 6 players, but I have one different one than you. Well, Jordan Morgan, obviously playing the 3rd most important position in football, left tackle, very important. I said it last week. I'll say it again for people to hear me. Once Joe Thomas signed off on Jordan Morgan, I'm good. I don't need anybody else to tell me anything. You're talking about Wisconsin guy, one of the greatest Wisconsin players of all time, maybe the greatest, one of the best left tackles in NFL history. I'm going to trust that guy knows what he's talking about.
I'm going to go as far as to say he is the number 1 in all those things.
I could absolutely agree with you. I'm just saying it for argument's sake, one of the best.
I believe that he is the best offensive lineman of all time.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
I have Javon Bullard. Everybody knows how I feel about Javon Bullard, one of my favorite players. I'm going to talk more about him later, so I'm not going to talk about him too much right now. Marshawn Lloyd, I love the caveat of injury, but he's going to come into the season with a big giant chip on his shoulder and a lot of stuff to prove. I have Evan Williams. I put 2 stars next to my man Evan. First practice I went to with my daughter. I didn't want to take too much of his time, but I looked at him and I said, "All pro coming soon." He said, "You know it, baby." And I said, "Hell yeah, let's go. Let's ride." So Evan Williams, first of all, Evan Williams is an A+++ human being. Just an amazing person. I love his personality. I love how happy he is. And then I love how on game day he could flip the switch and just be a freaking monster, dude. Like, I love Evan Williams. That 2024 draft is going to feed families for a long time in Green Bay, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then I have Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper, things that I've seen from camp that I was at, dude. Oh, man. I'm telling you, he's about to be unlocked. Now, this is not to say that I didn't like Quay Walker. You said something similar last week, but I am telling you, Franklin being a better run defender than Quay Walker was is going to absolutely unlock Cooper, dude. And it's going to give Jonathan Gannon the ability to move Edgerrin Cooper around, especially the first couple of weeks. That week 2 game versus the Jets, I'm telling you right now, Jonathan Gannon's turning into a mad scientist that week. You got a terrible team that are debuting some new uniforms. Yeah, they may start out white, but they're going to be a lot of grass stains all over those, baby. Because
Geno Smith might get sacked 5 times and throw 3 interceptions.
Yeah, dude. Geno is definitely that kind of guy that would do that. So
Packers might make the Jets start Cade Klubnik in week 3.
They might. And I've heard nothing but good things about him in their camp, by the way. Cade Klubnik is going crazy in their camp. But the last guy that I have
unlock Van Ness to a certain extent as well. I'm just going to give you a spoiler alert. Zaire Franklin's going to come up in our next segment.
Ooh, okay. The last guy that I have is Jacob Monk. I think it took him a couple years to kind of find his role, but this is the same spot that I see that McClellan ended up in a couple years, where it took him a little bit to get used to the physicality, get used to the speed. But Jacob Monk was a good draft pick. We were all excited when we had Simon and Bryant on the show with us a couple of years ago. We were all excited about this draft pick. We were like, "Oh, this is a good pick. Look at his numbers. Look at this. Look at this. Like, his metrics look great." I think he's finally caught up to the speed and the physicality of the game. So I think that he is going to be a pretty important player that people aren't considering right now.
And I think he was one of those guys that the Packers picked him, and they're like, okay, he's got a high ceiling, but we have to give him some time to develop.
Yeah.
And now the Piper's been paid, essentially. Okay. Last segment of the day. Let's go into our most likely, and let's just start it off. And we're going to start with the most likely to be overrated. And I just want to give the caveat here that with us being the optimistic and realistic show, we're not saying that we think these guys are guys that are expected to play well that we think are going to suck.
Yeah.
That's not what we're doing here. So I want to make sure that we just kind of have this little like kind of disclaimer that when we're talking about these guys, I want to give it as like a perspective shift potentially on like the expectations that could lead them to be overrated.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
Start it off, brother.
Okay. So offensively, for me, that guy is Anthony Belton. Mm-hmm. And reason I'm feeling like Anthony Belton is a guy that could be overrated is because he played a lot of right guard last season. He is penciled in. I'm absolutely not writing his name in pen at right guard to start the season. And the reason I feel like he could be overrated is because he's struggling a little bit at right guard, and I think it's because he's being played out of position. So I don't think this is entirely Anthony Belton's fault. We know that the Packers like to train their offensive linemen all over the offensive line, and I think Anthony Belton needs to just be let play tackle. I feel like Darian Kennard is a better guy to play swing guard and play essentially 4 out of the 5 positions, not center. I feel that Jacob Monk and Jay Burton are both better options at right guard, and I feel that Sean Ryan moved to right guard and having Burton start at center is a better option than having Anthony Belton play right guard when he should just be your swing tackle. And you should just have him practicing at left tackle and right tackle in case Jordan Morgan or Zach Welle go down.
He was playing a lot of right tackle on Sunday when I went. So
yes, and that made me happy. Like, he should be playing tackle. He was a tackle. He was drafted in the 2nd round. Like, guards don't get drafted early in the NFL draft very often, unless they're like guys that are expected to be like borderline generational.
Yeah.
They don't get drafted in the first 2 rounds.
Agreed.
Tackles get drafted in the first round and in the second round. Anthony Belton was a second round tackle that I thought was a little bit of a surprising pick that I don't think the Packers quite needed to make.
Mhm.
But they made the pick. I feel like he needs to be played at the position that he was drafted at.
Yeah, agreed. So, same year, the guy that I picked arrived in Green Bay the same year that the guy you picked, and mine is Aaron Banks. Just a different way of arriving in Green Bay, but is a guy that got a huge contract. It's not looking too good right now because he's kind of getting pushed out by 1, Jacob Monk, and 2, a rookie in Yager Burton. So Aaron Banks, I think, will start just because the price tag is attached to his name. But if you're going off performance, I don't think that he would be starting if it was just based off performance.
Yeah, and he's dealing with a lot of injuries. So I do think if he doesn't become borderline Pro Bowl level left guard, I think he's going to be cut.
I agree.
All right, my overrated defender, and I want to give a very strong caveat here. It's going to be because I don't want people to make assumptions about Javon Hargrave. I think he's going to be really good. His best years were with Jonathan Gannon, but he had 7.5 and 11 sacks in 2 years in Philadelphia under Jonathan Gannon. I just don't want people to assume that he's going to automatically do that at what is he? I think he's 35. So I don't want people to assume that he's going to be the same person that he was in Philly 4 years ago. So that's why I have Javon Hargrave listed. I just don't want people to be like, oh, he had 7.5 and 11 sacks. He's gonna have 9 sacks for sure this year.
No.
Yeah, Justin, that's very fair. So that's why I have Javon Hargrave on there. Again, I don't want people to be like, oh, why are you saying he's going to be overrated? It means you think he's going to suck? No, I think he's going to be really good, and I think he fits very well, and I think him and Wyatt make a very good defensive line tandem. I just, like I said, I want people to be kind of realistic with their expectations. Okay.
Oh.
Who is your potentially overrated defender?
So my potentially overrated defender is a guy that is talking a lot, and his name is Keyshawn Nixon. And, oh, God, I have so many strong emotions about Keyshawn Nixon right now. If the Packers weren't so thin at cornerback, I think they would have traded him yesterday. And I do think, and I've said this to you, I've said this in the back chat, I've said this to everybody at work, I said it to my dad, I said it to people at the camp on Sunday. I think that Keyshawn Nixon is trying to get traded without requesting a trade. That's personally how I feel about the situation. And you hear, I think it was today. Was it today or yesterday that LaFleur got asked a question about Nixon, and you could tell that LaFleur is like pissed, but he has to keep a calm
Professional
look on his face. Yeah, he's professional. That's a way to word it. And he says he sure likes making headlines, doesn't he? And I think the mindset is really just what bothers me. I mean, we're blue collar, right? Everybody, we work hard. We earn our living, and to hear a guy like Keyshawn Nixon who got paid a bag, he got a little bit overpaid when we first paid him. Now he's kind of a good deal for being an outside corner. I will say that. I agree with that. He's got a pretty good deal for being what technically would be a cornerback 1, but the season that he had last year wasn't really that great. Now, statistically, he had the 6th most tackles, I think, for all starting corners in the NFL.
I kind of disagree, but in the same vein where I feel like he statistically had a decent season and overall had a decent season, but his low moments and his penalties really drag that down.
That's what I weigh that stuff. So towards the end of the year, he had the one big play against the Bears at home, and then the 2 plays that he didn't make against the Bears on the road and one in the playoffs. I mean, just seeing him jump out of the way of a running back at the goal line, that's just kind of, man.
If it was week 3 and you're dealing with a shoulder injury,
yeah,
sure, but it's playoffs.
It was do or die. So, yeah, I mean, Keyshawn Nixon I think he was a low-hanging fruit, but that was who I picked.
Justin, he had the 6th most tackle and how many times he was targeted. Honestly, I think his I think his coverage numbers were fine. Like Jake said, I think he's being kind of paid fairly for what he provides. He knows he needs to get the penalties down. He's addressed that, which is great. But Justin saying that his comments are unacceptable at a professional level, I think that goes to Jake's point where he's trying to get traded without trying to get traded, or saying that he wants to be traded. And what I said to Jake today when he said that comment to me is, Rich Bisaccia is not here to defend him anymore.
I agree.
Rich Bisaccia and Keyshawn Nixon came to the Packers at the same time, and Rich Bisaccia is not here anymore. And I do still think that Rich Bisaccia was an underrated leader of the team, an underrated leader of people, just not great at the X's and O's of special teams.
Yeah.
I feel that Rich Bisaccia probably had a pretty strong hand in bringing Keyshawn Nixon to Green Bay and defending him at times when he wasn't playing his best. And now that's not here anymore. Send him to the same team as IU. I don't think it's that bad of a situation.
No.
I just think it's like they either need to figure something out or just move on.
Well, the words in the offseason were talking about how they got rid of some people who were kind of bad-mouthing the team, which I think that guy wears number 13 in Philadelphia this year. So having another new guy who's kind of bad-mouthing the team, they don't want any of that juju in the locker room. So just a bad look by Keyshawn Nixon, honestly.
Yeah, and I feel like Jonathan Gannon's a guy that's not going to put up with that shit.
Dude, absolutely. He is a get-in-your-face type of guy, too. So
yeah. So I feel like if Keyshawn Nixon was going to be like walking around and being like, this is bullshit, I shouldn't have to compete for a position to start on the team, Jonathan Gannon's going to get in his face and be like, I don't give a shit what you think.
Make the tackle, dude. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. All right. Most likely to be underrated. Who do you think on offense is most likely to be underrated?
I think this guy is way better than, and I'm not saying Packers fans specifically, but I'm talking about NFL fans. I think he's way better and deserves way more respect. His name is Jayden Reed.
I like it.
I love me some Jayden Reed, and I've seen him lined up at the outside wide receiver spot a ton. So I love that, dude. So my pick, I thought this was like this was the easiest one for me, honestly. Well, I lied. Second easiest. I have somebody on defense who I've been talking about a lot. But Jayden Reed, underrated. I think he just doesn't get enough respect. I think him and Jordan Love are going to have a good relationship this year. He needs to have like an 8 to 10 touchdown season.
I'm down for that. And like 50, 60 receptions?
70.
70?
There's not as many mouths to feed this year.
Yeah, I guess I'm still thinking almost in more terms of like a 16-game season. I do think it's very plausible that he misses a game or two just because he's kind of just been a little bit banged up. So even if you say 15 games, God damn, the Brewers are just fucking mashing home runs all day. Even if he's like thinking about it as like 15 games, that's only 4 catches a game to get to 60. So I think that's certainly within the realm of possibility. I also picked a wide receiver. I went with Savion Williams. I talked about him a little bit already in the year 3 leaps. He's not going to be a starting wide receiver, but his skill set is very versatile. So I feel that Savion Williams is a guy, and we've kind of seen it in camp a little bit already. They're doing some of the jet sweep type stuff. I think Justin said, I'm hoping Savion exceeds expectations and steps up. Such an intriguing player. I agree. That's where I'm coming from with this. I think, especially with some uncertainty with Josh Jacobs, Chris Brooks has been injured so far in training camp up until like last week, and Marshawn Lloyd has been injured in the regular season the last 2 years. I think Savion Williams is going to get some carries out of the backfield.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about this. Oh, yeah. I can't wait till we do our stat projections, dude. That's going to be so fun.
I think that's going to be a factor. So I'm very, very interested to see what Savion Williams' season looks like. Like, I'm not trying to fast forward to the end of the season, but I'm very interested to see what his numbers look like at the end of the year.
Agreed.
All right. Who's your underrated guy for defense?
Underrated guy for defense, and I don't think people understand how hard it is to get drafted as a safety and then come into the league as a safety, have a competition with another guy who you were drafted with, lose that spot, and then get pushed to nickelback. And, of course, I'm talking about nobody other than Javon Bullard. He's one of my favorite players on the team. I have always migrated towards players who, one, talk a lot, because I'm a talker myself, and 2, they back that shit up because there is nothing more gangster than telling somebody you're going to kick their teeth in, and then you kick their teeth in. I'm telling you that shit gets me going. Like I'm starting to feel it a little bit right now. Honestly, thinking about it, I'm gonna have to watch some highlights before I go to bed. Probably not going to bed until 11 o'clock now because I'm gonna be all juiced up. But Javon Bullard, he's just a dog, dude. You put him all over the field. He covers running backs, covers tight ends, covers wide receivers. He hits you in your shit. He lets you know about it. I love Javon Bullard. So he is very underrated. I feel like he's in the same tier as Jaden Reed, where people just literally don't understand how talented this guy is.
I'm going to hold my
And
thoughts.
Marvin Harrison. So it is what it is.
I'm going to hold off saying anything about him because he's going to come up in a segment for me.
Okay.
And it's not underrated because my underrated player on defense is Zaire Franklin.
Ho.
And he's coming in here, and I think last season he was banged up in Indianapolis, but he's been one of the best linebackers in football in his career. Yeah. Like he's been that person. He was paid as that person. That's why the Packers only had to give up Colby Wooden to get him because he's got kind of a big price tag attached to him. Mm-hmm. I believe that he represents an upgrade over Quay Walker at the linebacking position. I think Quay Walker had a lot of really good physical traits, and I think we saw him grow as a middle linebacker and as a guy that wore the green dot. And against the run, like we saw him do some good things in the pass rush. And I think he's a better athlete than Zaire Franklin, but I think Zaire Franklin is a better linebacker than Quay Walker.
I agree.
And, guys bringing up, I think Franklin's going to unlock, Justin said LDN. Jake said Edgerrin Cooper. I strongly agree with Edgerrin Cooper thing because that you have a guy in the middle of the field that he knows what's going on.
Yep.
Zaire Franklin knows what is happening. You don't have to be like, hey, are you good? Like, do you get where we're going here? Zaire Franklin is a guy that you're going to put out on the field, and he's going to be telling people where to go.
Yep, that is where the difference between Quay Walker, we had to let him grow into that role, where Franklin comes in already with that role. So I 100% agree with you.
And I'm going to go a step further with the potential leadership of Zaire Franklin. I think it's very possible that he gets a captain.
Oh, I can see that. Absolutely.
Listening to the way that he talks, the way that he talks about people, the way that he talks about practice, the way that he's already talking about loving being in Green Bay, which you love to see it. You love to see a guy come here from another team after being there his whole career, and he comes to Green Bay and you're like, this is awesome.
Right?
Yeah, I think there's a shot that Zaire Franklin wears a C on his jersey every week.
I can see it.
Okay. Let's go into guys that we think are most likely to break out.
The breakout. Okay. So on offense, this was the easiest option of all time. I don't care that he's coming off of an ACL. His name is Tucker Kraft.
I love it. Love it.
It's Tucker Kraft to the freaking moon, bro. I'm not trying to give away any secrets. I'm not going to talk about formations and all that stuff. But Packers were running this certain formation, and I swear to God, they ran it like 4 or 5 times in a row. I think it was 3 plays in a row that nobody touched Tucker Kraft. I'm not playing with you. And they were switching people all over the place on him. They were putting linebackers, corners, safeties. The defense was trying. But I think it was 3 plays in a row that Tucker Kraft literally didn't get touched, bro. And he scored a touchdown, and he spiked it, and he was screaming, and he was chest bumping, and I was like, oh, yeah.
He's an animal. Tucker Kraft is an intense dude.
And people will talk about when they interview him that you can feel the energy coming off him, and I love it, dude. I love that he's a psychopath, and he plays a position that you have to hit somebody. It's just like, oh, yeah, dude. Give me more of that. But Tucker Kraft talked recently about how people think like he doesn't want to just get to the point where he was before his injury. He wants to exceed that. So you just love hearing that from a young guy. Those are the people you pay, by the way. So let's get that done, all right? But he talked about how he thinks that people think he's only a zone tight end and he can't beat man. I'm telling you, they ran man twice on those 3 plays, and he freaking fried people, dude. So Tucker Kraft to the moon, dude. That's how I feel.
Reports that I've seen is that he is 10 for 10 on targets and receptions.
He's too good, bro.
My breakout guy, and I went with Jordan Morgan for the reasons that Jake already brought up.
Ooh.
Him being endorsed by Joe Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that alone is like, okay. I would blindly trust Joe Thomas when it comes to playing left tackle.
Yep.
Not only that, he was a first-round pick. The Packers drafted him knowing he was their future left tackle.
Yep.
And overall, I trust the Packers when it comes to drafting offensive linemen. That's just something that they are just kind of always good at. And we were just talking about loving Jacob Monk as a late-round pick. The artist formerly known as Zach Tom was a fifth-round pick. I mean, Sean Ryan was a third-round pick. We talked about him potentially being a guy that breaks the third-round curse. Sean Ryan's going to be starting for the Packers this year. He got an extension in the offseason. He made it to a second contract. I mean, Aaron Banks is going to be the only guy that's potentially going to start that wasn't drafted by the team.
Yeah, that's crazy work.
So that's where I'm at. I think Jordan Morgan is kind of a low-hanging fruit just because he was a former first-round pick. But going into year 3, he is now starting at, like you said, and I agree with you, the third most important position in football.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Who is your defensive breakout?
Talked about this guy, I feel like, for 3 years now, about how good he is. He's not afraid to stick his nose in there. He covers everybody. And I talked about how good of a human he is just a couple minutes ago, but it's Evan Williams. You could see the trajectory of his career where you see him his rookie year. He's like, oh, okay, that was a nice play. He has some ups and downs, right? Last year, he had a couple plays where he jumped some routes. He was coming down into the box and covering the running back in the pass game. I was like, oh my God, this guy might be the real deal. Like, maybe rookie season wasn't a fluke. Third year, Evan Williams is the year where he breaks out and breaks onto the scene and shows everybody exactly why they didn't take the white cornerback out of Iowa, because they had a guy who could play multiple positions and do multiple different kind of things. For a guy, Jonathan Gannon, who's going to get the best out of his players, I think Gannon is a terrific defensive coordinator. He just might be one of those guys that's not a head coach, and that happens.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to say about his leadership or his X's and O's or understanding of the game. Some guys are just naturally better at certain things, and I think that he's going to get the most out of Evan Williams. He's had a couple really good safeties over the course of his coaching career, Jonathan Gannon, that is. And I think Evan Williams is the guy that's next in line. We all know what McKinney can do. The guy's an all-pro, led the league in interceptions a couple of years ago. So, I mean, we know what he can do. So, Evan Williams, I think he's the next guy, and I have a very hot take about him in a couple of weeks.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's 1,000,000% accurate that some guys are just better as coordinators. Yep. Justin asked if there's any word on St. Juste. I haven't seen much on him, but I've been busy with other stuff. I think he's going to be a cornerback 2, not number 2, but on the second round the second substitution of corners. It's going to be Cisse and Nixon, and then Valentine and St. Juste. I think that's going to be the way that they go with the corners.
I agree.
My breakout guy for defense is also a third-year safety, but I don't think he's going to be playing a lot of safety because he's going to play everything for the Packers. I think Javon Bullard is going to be Jonathan Gannon's secret weapon that is all over the field. Talked about it last week in our segment where we started talking about what Jonathan Gannon's new scheme is going to look like, and The Athletic was writing and talking about how Javon Bullard could be Jonathan Gannon's Buda Baker. That moves all over the field, that plays some corner, plays some slot, plays some safety, plays some linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
I am extremely excited to watch number 7, Javon Bullard, flying all over the field. And I just get excited about that. Like a guy like the way that the Patriots started using Jabril Peppers after they got him.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's just all over the field and he's wearing a 0, and you're just like, dude, that's a star position right there. He doesn't have a position. He's just the star position guy.
Yep.
And I feel like Javon Bullard can be that guy this year, and I'm really, really excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's end it on a guy who is most likely to be the most improved player.
So this is where I have Jordan Morgan.
Okay.
On the offensive side. He's a guy that a lot of Packers fans were kind of writing off because he was playing out of position, kind of like Anthony Belton is right now. Jordan Morgan getting put into a position of need, really, honestly. And we need him to be better than we were last year at that spot because the offensive line kind of let us down in some areas.
Yep, I agree.
And if you can have Zebach on the right tackle and you can have Jordan Morgan on the left tackle, and those guys are just rock solid, you can figure it out in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's very important for him to be the most likely to be improved player on this team, but I think that he definitely has a shot. And I think we've talked about it at a nauseating rate of just how many people are talking well about him.
So my most likely to be the most improved player on offense, his name is also Jordan.
Love?
I have Jordan Love.
Wow.
So reason being, he's been banged up the last couple of years. That's unfortunate, but that's just the truth. You see people being like, Jordan Love is no way he could be a top 10 quarterback. He only had 25 touchdowns last year. He missed chunks of time over the last 2 seasons. The season before last year, he was playing basically as a pocket player only because he had an injury in week 1 to his knee.
Yep.
I think going into this season, having healthy wide receivers, healthy pass catchers in general, we've never seen Tucker Kraft, Christian Watson, and Jaden Reed on the same time on the field together. And Matthew Golden obviously stepping into a bigger role, a first-round wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of uncertainty at the running back position.
Yeah.
With Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, even Chris Brooks, and maybe Savion Williams being a guy that gets carries. A lot of uncertainty there. I think 40 touchdowns is possible for Jordan Love this year. And then you add on top of that, Matt LaFleur saying that he thinks Jordan Love is the best player in pre-snap adjustments that he has ever coached.
Yeah, that is wild.
That's a crazy statement to make. That's a very, very strong statement to make, knowing that Matt LaFleur coached Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. He coached a lot of good quarterbacks. He coached friggin' Matt Ryan,
That's
MVP
true.
Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, he coached Kirk Cousins that took Robert Griffin III's job.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's coached a lot of good quarterbacks.
I think people see that and they're like, wow, he really needs to pump up Jordan Love's confidence that much. And I don't think that's the case. I think that Matt LaFleur believes that. And I think part of it is that we know that Aaron Rodgers was great at extending plays and kind of manipulating things after the snap.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we talked about it a lot last year, and something that we probably could have made a post about going into Matt LaFleur's comment that he made about him being the best that he's seen in making pre-snap adjustments. We talked about it a lot last year as something that he got way better at.
Yeah.
And talking last year about wanting to put the ball in Jordan Love's hands more. That Jordan Love is a really good player in no huddle. The metrics back that up.
Yep.
And when you go no huddle, the quarterback is calling the plays.
Yeah.
That's why he's got the armband on. Jordan Love is looking through the plays. He's making those calls.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked last year, too, about wanting to let Matt LaFleur have Jordan Love get more of the control of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the way to look at it is the reverse of the final years of Mike McCarthy, where Aaron Rodgers was constantly changing the plays at the line of scrimmage because he didn't like what he was doing. And I think it needs to be the opposite way around. And Matt LaFleur needs to say, hey, I want you to be able to make the changes at the line of scrimmage that you feel are good changes to make.
Yeah.
And then something that I've posted in my winners and losers segments on Fridays is that Jordan Love, I put him as a winner because when the Packers go out there and they're running team drills, Jordan Love is throwing a lot of deep balls.
He is.
And if that translates, there's not a wide receiver that I don't think that the Packers can't send deep.
It's fair.
I think if you look at the top 6 wide receivers, you would feel comfortable sending 5 of them on go routes.
Fair. I love all that stuff. Those are all good. I don't know who to pick for my improves.
You're not going to pick my guy, so you might as well just give one, and I'll give mine, and you can give your other one, because mine is not anybody that you're even remotely thinking of.
All right, so my first one is Lucas Van Ness. I think this
Okay.
one's a pretty obvious choice.
That makes sense.
We've seen him improve every single year of his career. Even when people were talking about, he was a backup in college and all this stuff. Well, he's getting talked about the way that you were talking about Javon Bullard. Gannon talked about he's going to play a bunch of different spots. He's going to line up at end. He's going to line up at D tackle. They're going to have him standing up, hand on the ground, everywhere. I mean, LVN, that's why the reason I wanted to draft him, because I was like, this guy's a Swiss Army knife on the defensive line. You could do so much stuff with him. Imagine, now this is just nasty. Imagine him between Wyatt and Parsons, and it's week 9, and you're a quarterback and you're shitting your pants, and then they decide to blitz Edgerrin Cooper, and it's double mug. Let's say it's double mug, and you have Franklin and Edgerrin Cooper staring at you. What are you doing? Like what are you going to do in that situation?
Audible to a scream.
Seriously, the first series of that preseason game, when they were getting after Rudolph, I was like, oh, fuck yes, dude. I've been waiting for this, dude. Oh, my God. Like, yes, but LVN, I think, is an easy choice.
Yeah, that makes sense. I am fully prepared to dodge tomatoes and lettuce right now. This is a super spicy take, but I put Keyshawn Nixon.
Wow.
So basically, the way I see it, the entire fan base is writing off Keyshawn Nixon.
Wow.
And I get the gripe. I get it that he was not what you want from a number 1 corner last year.
Uh-huh.
But he knows what he needs to improve. He has been talked about it. Now, I had this written down before he made some kind of backhanded comments on Sunday about, I shouldn't need to be Yeah, thanks, Justin. That he shouldn't need to be competing for a spot, and he's getting picked on. And Matt LaFleur saying today that everybody's in a competition, except for Brandon Cisse.
All right.
But he knows what he needs to improve. He knows he needs to get the penalties down. He knows he needs to be better in coverage. And the reason that I have him in this spot is because Jonathan Gannon is a defensive back helper.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel that there is a possibility, if not a strong one, just a remote possibility that Jonathan Gannon is able to kind of fix Keyshawn Nixon, whether it be with scheme or just his role.
Okay. I like it.
All right. You want to give your other one? I told you weren't going to have mine. So
that is very spicy. And you knew that because I have him as overrated. So nicely done. My second one is also a guy that Gannon is just moving everywhere, and we've talked about him a lot, and it's Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper makes so much sense. I think between LVN and Edgerrin Cooper, they're going to be competing for this. Who's the most improved player on defense? It's going to be wild. Edgerrin Cooper getting lined up at defensive edge and then dropping into coverage is just diabolical work, dude. Like, you think this guy's coming because he's one of the most athletic players on the field. If you consider size as a factor, he's so fast, dude. But him just dropping out from that edge spot is just nuts, dude. Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't even feel good about sending a running back out on onto a screen or a bubble.
Yeah, because he can read that, and then he can catch you from behind too. So it's nasty.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think I'm very excited to see what else happens with the Packers.
Good news.
So we have more stuff coming up. Mm-hmm. Next week, we're going to be doing X Factors, record predictions, and bold predictions. Mm-hmm. We're also, when we do our record predictions, as we normally do, we're going to have head and heart record predictions. But we're also going to power rank the schedule. Mm-hmm. So we're going to look weeks 1 through 17, and we're going to rank what we think are the toughest games. And kind of make a power ranking of what we think the toughest ones are going to be from 17 to 1. So tune in for that as well. Bold predictions are always fun. They're always something where it's like, oh, okay. As if we don't have enough of that on our show already. But
yeah, right. It's like our favorite part.
Next week, also tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow we are doing Take the Bait, so there's going to be some Packer stuff in that as well. Tomorrow we're going to be doing Take the Bait. We're going to have some spicy but plausible questions and statements to pose to each other to see if we can get the other one to jump in on one of our questions or statements. So, Justin, no, I don't think there's really any talks of bringing anybody else in before the season starts. They're kind of claiming some wide receivers. They claimed a defensive end rookie today. I think maybe after the second preseason game and the first round of cuts kind of start happening, maybe. But I think overall the Packers are, for the most part, I mean, when we did our depth chart and our record or our roster predictions, Jake and I went 1 through 50 pretty easy.
Yeah, that was pretty chill.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. See everybody tomorrow. See everybody next week. And thanks for tuning in.